Flights are $1,200 each, my mom said flatly. If you can't afford it, then just stay behind. I didn't argue. Just nodded, and right then, a notification popped up on my phone. Someone had used my credit card to buy 4 business class tickets. None of them were for me. I pulled up my banking app, filed disputes on all charges, and locked the account before they could run up more damage. Right around check-in, my sister Kayla messaged me, "Why is nothing paid for?" I stared at the screen, took a breath, and replied, "What you said." So yeah, I stayed behind. But not exactly the way they imagined. I went and booked myself a trip of my own. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere peaceful. The following day, my dad came knocking on my apartment door. I didn't answer. When Mom first said the thing about the $1,200 flights, I didn't fight it. I nodded again, maybe even gave a small smile, pretending it didn't cut deep. Like I hadn't heard this exact message at least 6 times in the past couple of years. If I wasn't footing the bill, I wasn't really invited. She said it over speakerphone, casually, while I was still in my scrubs, sweaty and exhausted after a 12-hour hospital shift. I just wrapped up back-to-back nights, juggling rent payments and chipping away at my student debt. And where were they headed? Maui. My mom, dad, sister Kayla, and her husband Derek. A full week in paradise. Business class, naturally. "You know we deserve this," my mom had added. "It's been a hard year, for everyone." Everyone. Like I wasn't included in that word. Like it hadn't been me who gave Kayla $2,500 last spring when Derek lost his job in sales. Like I hadn't stepped up and paid Dad's medical deductible when his blood pressure spiked and he refused urgent care because of the cost. Still, I told her it was okay. That I'd sit this one out. And then I went back to wiping puke off my shoes after a drunk patient tried to swing on me for suggesting he lie down. Later that night, I got another alert. Credit card charge. Business class airfare. 4 tickets. Each $1,200. On my card. None in my name. I opened the app and checked the passenger list. Kayla B., Derek B., Sandra, that's Mom. William M. Dad. No Alex M. No me. I stared at the screen, frozen. My hands were ice. My chest tight. They'd used my card. No heads up. No asking. No apology. Just assumed I'd pick up the tab, like always. Didn't even get a window seat out of it. I hit dispute all and shut the account down. About an hour later, while brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed again. It was Kayla. "Why is nothing paid for? We're at check-in." I wiped toothpaste from my mouth and looked at the message. Then I typed back, "What you said." And I meant it. I stayed behind. But not the way they thought. I booked my own escape. Someplace warmer, quieter. No family. No responsibilities. No guilt. Next morning, the phone rang again. It was Dad. I let it go to voicemail. Later that afternoon, he came by my apartment like nothing had happened. Knocking like he still had that kind of access to my life. I didn't answer. Because truthfully, it wasn't about the flights. That was just the latest offense. The real story went much further back. A mountain of unspoken expectations and overdraft charges I'd quietly carried for years. It started when I was 22. Kayla borrowed my credit card to buy a dress for her engagement party. She called it an emergency. A $600 emergency. "You work in healthcare and never dress up," she said. "You won't even notice." She swore she'd pay me back by month's end. She never did. Then came Dad, asking me to co-sign a loan to redo the kitchen. "It's not even for us," he said. "It's to raise the resale value. Someday you'll inherit it," he added. Spoiler alert, they refinanced the place, twice, just to bail out Derek's second failed business venture. Meanwhile, I was clocking over 50 hours a week, barely keeping myself afloat. Still, I was the reliable one. The fallback plan. The nurse with a dependable job. The one without a spouse. No kids. So, of course, it made sense that I should help out. Because that's what family does. Except, it never flowed both ways. Last winter, I came down with pneumonia after pushing through flu season. I asked Mom if she could bring me soup. She said, "I can't, sweetheart." I promised Kayla I'd babysit while she gets her nails done. You understand? And I did. Always did. When Derek crashed my car, the one I let him borrow while his was in the shop, my insurance premium doubled overnight. He didn't even say sorry. Just laughed it off. That's what insurance is for, right? They wore me down, slowly, bit by bit, until I was too numb to notice anymore. Like boiling a frog. And I was the frog. Then came the week before their Hawaii trip. That's when things snapped. I just ended a night shift when Kayla texted, "Can you move your payday up? Mom wants to book hotels and we're short." Payday? For what? I wasn't even invited. I texted back, "Short for what?" She replied with a hula dancer gif and some emojis. Desert island, flowers, light-skinned woman dancing. Real subtle. So I called Mom. "Kayla said you need help with hotel costs?" I asked, trying to keep it neutral. "Oh, sweetie," she chirped. "Don't worry. Everything's already taken care of. We just needed a little cushion to upgrade to business class. You know how bad Derek's knees are." Wait, so now they were asking me to pay for upgrades on a trip I wasn't even going on? The line went quiet. Then her tone shifted. "Look, Alex. If you really wanted to come, you should have said something. But the flights are $1,200 each," she said again, like it was nothing. "If you can't swing that, maybe it's better if you sit this one out. No offense." She made it sound like I was a hassle. Like just being part of the family was messing up their luxury plans. I didn't argue. I just hung up. Quiet. Numb. Then came the notification. My credit card had been used for 4 business class tickets. That's when the numbness cracked. All the sacrifices I'd made, the trips I passed on, the dinners I canceled, the shifts I picked up back to back. All so they could relax in comfort while I rationed out my medications and lived off microwave ramen 3 nights a week. That night, I sat at my desk with my laptop open, staring at a spreadsheet. I had $327 left in my checking account. Still owed $14,200 in student loans. My car was falling apart, 6 years old, nearly 120,000 miles. I hadn't taken a real vacation since college. Meanwhile, Derek was stretching his legs in business class, sipping champagne, on my dime. And Kayla? She had the nerve to text me from the airport check-in, "Why is nothing paid for?" That's when the mask fell off. I finally saw them for who they were. Not my family. Just people who treated me like a line of credit with a heartbeat. I kept it simple and sent back the same words Mom had used. "What you said." I stayed behind. And I meant it. But then, I did something I never thought I would. I pulled up a travel website and booked myself a trip. Nothing fancy. Nothing over the top. But it was mine. Entirely mine. No guilt. No baggage. No one asking for favors. The next morning, my dad showed up at my door like he was in some bad Netflix drama. Still in his Hawaiian shirt, standing in my hallway looking equal parts confused, pissed off, and entitled. He knocked. I stayed still. Knocked again. Louder this time. "Alex. Open the door. We need to talk." I didn't move. He waited outside for 7 minutes. I know, because I timed it. Then he left. Later that evening, I got a voicemail from my mom. "You really hurt your father today," she said. "He flew back early just to talk to you. After everything we've done for you." Done for me. I saved that voicemail. Not for nostalgia, just to have it as evidence. Because I was done gaslighting myself into thinking I was the ungrateful one. Next day, Kayla tried calling. 5 times. Then she sent this gem, "Grow up. You can't punish the whole family over one misunderstanding." Misunderstanding? They used me. Rummy. Laughed about it. And now that I finally said no, I was the bad guy? But I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. They assumed my silence meant surrender. That if they just knocked hard enough, long enough, I'd cave. Same as always. But this time, I wasn't the same. Dad came back the next day, with Mom this time. Same hallway. Same spot outside my condo. Same tired guilt trip written across their faces. I didn't answer the door. That night, the texts started rolling in, this time from Kayla. You're being totally unfair. We needed that upgrade. Derek's knees swell when he flies coach. Do you even realize what you've done? We couldn't check in. We had to downgrade and pay out of pocket. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Family is supposed to be there for each other. Family. That word again. I started typing. Deleted. Retyped. Then finally sent one line. You mean like when I paid your rent for 8 months and you never paid me back? No reply. Then came a wave of calls from Mom. I didn't pick up a single one. Then a text from Dad. You need to grow up and stop playing the victim. We had no choice. We didn't know the card would decline. You were supposed to help. You always do. That last sentence. I read it over and over. You were supposed to help. Like I was some kind of unpaid employee, and not showing up for duty was grounds for dismissal. I didn't answer. But I wasn't finished either. Because they thought this was a phase. A little tantrum. And that eventually I'd get over it. Like I always had. But not this time. This time, I was angry on every level. Emotionally, financially, physically drained after years of keeping this mess afloat. I wasn't just hurt. I was done being their silent donor. So I did something they never expected. I wrote an invoice. Line by line. Kayla's engagement dress, $600. Never repaid. Loan to Kayla and Derek when Derek lost his job. Dad's MRI deductible I paid out of pocket. Groceries Mom forgot to Venmo me for. Business class tickets purchased without consent. Interest and late fees from that unauthorized charge. I totaled it all, attached a spreadsheet, and emailed it to our family group chat. Subject line: reimbursement request for unauthorized charges and past support. Message body read: I used to believe family looked out for each other. Please see the attached breakdown of financial support I've provided over the last 24 months. Effective July 1st, I will no longer be financially subsidizing family expenses. Full reimbursement is expected within 30 business days. After that, I'll be reporting the unauthorized charges to my credit provider. Moving forward, there will be no further financial involvement. The chat blew up instantly. Kayla, are you serious? Who sends an invoice to their own family? Mom, this is cruel and totally unnecessary. Dad, you're making things worse, Alex. We raised you better than this. That last line? That was it. That was the spark. Because the truth is, they didn't raise me. I raised myself. Through extra shifts, unpaid loans, and being the backup plan for everybody's screw-ups. So I wrote back clear and calm. You didn't raise me. I've been overwhelmed for years by the imbalance in this relationship. And I let it happen. But I'm not letting it continue. Then I blocked Kayla. I kept Mom and Dad unblocked. Not out of mercy, just out of curiosity. I wanted to see how far their denial could really go. Turned out it could go pretty far. The following night, they showed up at my door again. I peeked through the peephole. Dad stood stiff like he was bracing for a storm. Mom clutched a handful of papers, probably receipts and a half-baked apology. I opened the door. You need to talk to us, Mom said, her voice shaky. I looked her in the eye. No, I really don't, I replied, calm and steady. Dad stepped in next. This little stunt, freezing the card, sending that invoice, it's petty, Alex. We're your family. And you used my name and my card to buy plane tickets? I snapped back. That's not family. That's theft. That's betrayal. Mom started crying. We didn't think it'd be a problem. You always help. Yeah, I said. Because you trained me to. You raised me to believe that saying no meant I was ungrateful. A bad son. I didn't let her interrupt. Since I was 22, you've treated me like a walking debit card. I kept helping because I was scared of the guilt. But I'm done being the good son. Dad's tone hardened. Don't talk to your mother like that. No, I said firmly. Don't talk to me like I owe you something. I stared him down. While Kayla and Derek were sipping mimosas at LAX on my dime, I was clocking doubles. While I was helping cover your hospital bills, you called me selfish behind my back. He stepped closer. You think this makes you strong? Turning your back on family? No, I said. But it makes me free. And then I closed the door. I didn't slam it. I just shut it, firm, final, and with intention. They didn't knock again. That night, Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was quiet, almost hollow. "I don't know who you are anymore," she said. For the first time in my life, hearing those words made me smile. Because she was right. I wasn't the person they used to push around. After I shut that door, the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was sharp. Surgical. No more banging on the door. No more guilt-tripping messages. Just emptiness where their control used to live. For 2 whole days, nothing. No calls. No texts. I half thought they'd give me the silent treatment forever. But then the panic started. I got an email from my bank. Someone had tried to use my old, frozen credit card to rent a car in Maui. Of course it was Derek. I called the fraud department. They confirmed the charge attempt matched his ID. "Would you like to press charges?" they asked. I told them not yet. But I had them log everything. I forwarded the report to myself and labeled the email. Evidence in case they escalate. Later that night, a text came in from an unknown number. "We're stranded. Are you really gonna leave your family like this? After everything we've done for you?" Kayla. I stared at it for a long time. Everything they'd done for me? Besides take? I didn't reply. I took a screenshot and saved it in a new folder I'd made on my laptop. Family, patterns I won't repeat. A few more days went by. Then something completely unexpected happened. I got a message on Facebook from Marissa. Yes, that Marissa. Derek's ex-wife. We hadn't talked in years. Last I knew, she'd moved across the country after the divorce and built a new life. She always had more sense than he did. Ambitious. A lawyer who didn't mess around. Her message was short. "Hey Alex. Sorry to message out of the blue, but you might want to talk." I replied, "This about Derek?" She sent a thumbs up. Then a file. The PDF. I hesitated for a second. Then opened it. Inside, screenshots. Bank transfers. A full paper trail. Turns out, Derek had been rerouting money from a joint family emergency account one mom and dad had given him access to. He was gambling again. Crypto this time. Big risk, 0 cents. And it got worse. The screenshots included emails. One from Mom, begging Marissa not to go public. One from Dad, "We'll fix this. Alex doesn't need to know." They knew. All of them. They hid it because they were afraid I'd finally cut them off. Which I had, just not soon enough. The plane tickets? That was nothing. They'd been draining me dry for years, using me to keep Derek's mess quiet. I called Marissa immediately. She picked up on the second ring. "I wasn't sure you'd even want to talk," she said. "But I couldn't keep watching from the sidelines. I remember how they treated you." Asked her why now. Why send all this? She paused. "Because you're finally doing what I should have done a long time ago, walking away. And I figured you deserved to know the full story." That night, I printed every screenshot, every receipt, every slimy little message. I stapled them all together, set them on my desk, and for the first time in years, I slept with the window open. Cool air blowing in. No pressure in my chest. Just rest. The next morning, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Dad. His voice wasn't angry, just tired. "Alex. I don't even know what to say. Your mom's sick from stress. Kayla's not eating. Derek's not doing well. We made mistakes, yeah. But you've made your point. I'm asking, man to man, can we please talk?" I typed one line and hit send. "You're not entitled to grace you never earned." Later that week, I sent the invoice again. This time with Marissa's PDF attached. Labeled, Addendum A, Supplemental Evidence. And just for good measure, I CC'd Aunt Linda. Just for kicks, I sent a redacted version of the invoice to Dad's employer's HR department. Anonymously, of course. A few days later, I got a notification. Dad was no longer listed on the company's website. I didn't celebrate. I wasn't angry. I was just detached. Meanwhile, my life? It started to bloom. I signed up for real therapy, face-to-face sessions with someone who actually listened. I took long walks. Bought a bike to get around. Started cooking new recipes every weekend, something different each time. And then there was Leah. I met her in the hospital cafeteria, soft-spoken, curious, with no clue who my family was or what they'd done. I told her my story. About them. About me. About the person I was finally becoming, without them. One afternoon, we sat on my couch, looking up a local hiking trail online. She pointed to one and smiled. Want to go next weekend? For the first time in years, I didn't check my bank account before saying yes. I just said it. Weeks later, I got one last letter in the mail. No return address. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Kayla. 5 pages of manipulative nonsense dressed up like an apology. We all make mistakes. You took it too far. Mom cries every day. You've turned your back on blood. At the end, she wrote, we're family. Nothing changes that. And I realized she was right. We are family. That's what made it hurt so much. Because it wasn't strangers who stole from me. It was the people who knew me best, and still did it anyway. I folded the letter, placed it on top of the Marissa files, and locked them both in a drawer. The night before my birthday, a card arrived in the mail. Simple. No signature. Just 3 words. I see you. It was from Marissa. And in that moment I smiled. Because finally, someone did. It's been 6 months since I slammed the door on my past. 6 months since I stopped apologizing for saying no. 6 months since I finally looked myself in the mirror and didn't see a walking wallet. I saw a man. Untethered. I used to think closure meant they'd come to me, heads bowed, tears in their eyes, offering apologies and redemption. But closure wasn't their job. It was mine. 3 weeks ago, I ran into my mom. Total accident. I was grabbing my morning espresso at a quiet downtown cafe, half asleep, earbuds in, hoodie up. Then I heard her voice, Alex. I looked up. There she was. Smaller than I remembered, not just in stature, but in presence. Like time had shrunk her. She smiled like nothing ever happened. Like we hadn't gone to war with silence and invoices. Can we sit? She asked. We did. She talked first. Rambling. No real apologies. Just rewrites of memory. We were just trying to hold things together. We didn't realize how much you were carrying. If we could go back, maybe we'd do some things differently. No ownership. No mention of the fraud. No word about Derek trying to use my credit again. No accountability for Kayla's venom. Just an emotional dress rehearsal where I was supposed to play the forgiving son. But I was done with that role. Then came the inevitable question. Do you hate us now? I didn't flinch. No, I said. But I don't owe you anything anymore. She blinked. But we're family. That's not an argument, I said. That's an excuse. She reached into her purse, handed me an envelope, stood up, and said she hoped I'd come back someday. I told her calmly, I already did. To tell you I'm not coming back. When she left, I opened the envelope. A check. $7,870. No note. No apology. Just silence with a $sign attached. I didn't cash it right away. I pinned it to my wall above my desk. Right next to a quote that changed my life. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Kayla never reached out again. But Marissa did. After sharing Derek's lies with me, she sent the same packet of proof to a family law attorney and the state fraud office. Derek's now under investigation for wire fraud and misappropriation of family funds. Because guess what? He didn't just use my card. He skimmed from mom and dad's retirement fund, too. The same people who once told me he was just going through a rough patch. Poetic justice. When I asked Marissa why she helped, she said, because you deserve backup. And I couldn't sleep knowing they'd keep bleeding you. She wasn't just Derek's ex anymore. She was a truth bomb with receipts. Dad lost his job quietly. Rumor is HR started digging after that anonymous packet landed on their desk. He tried calling me once more. Voicemail. You made your point, Alex. You've embarrassed all of us. But family's not a transaction. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. Because here's the truth. Family is a transaction when it's always been one-sided. Leah and I? We're solid. She was there when I told her everything. The good, the ugly, the bank records. She didn't flinch. Just held my hand and said, "I'm proud of you for not letting it turn you bitter." She's the first person in my life who never made me earn her love through sacrifice. We're planning to move in together this fall. A new place. Bigger. Brighter. And no, I didn't ask anyone for money. As for that check, I cashed it, then donated every cent to a scholarship fund for young nurses who support their families financially while going to school. Because somewhere out there is me 5 years ago, breaking their back while their family pretends it's normal. Let them know it's not normal. Let them know they're not alone. So, where does that leave me? Stronger, quieter, wiser, still a son, still a brother, but no longer their lifeline. I don't carry their weight anymore. I carry my own boundaries. I carry my peace. And I carry the memory of the day I finally said, "I am not your safety net. I am my own person." They didn't understand me for that, but I love myself for it. So here's what I leave behind. The guilt, the fear, the myth that being the good one means bleeding out for others. And here's what I keep. My life. It's not perfect, but it's mine. And this time, I'm not sharing it with anyone who doesn't treat me like I matter. I used to be the one they leaned on. Now I stand tall on my own. And that door I shut all those months ago? It's still closed. Only now the key? It's in my pocket. And it's staying there.